Good evening, dear Thai, dear community. Did I say evening? Okay, I'm still in Asia time. So good morning, dear everyone, for your presence and happy Easter. I'd just like to take a moment to introduce to you our brother. We're very honored to have him visit us this week. His brother name is Brother Pháp Sa, and he's from our European Center, Germany Center, EIAB. And he is very gracious in accepting our impromptu invitation to share with you today. So Brother Pháp Sa will be sharing with you this morning. And we have children here. The children is invited to leave the hall at this time and to see Sister Tan Lương. She will be out here waiting for you, and she will have a program for you outside. So any children, if you like to go out and play and not remaining, you're welcome to go. But if you like to stay back and listen to the talk, you're also welcome. So please see Sister Tan Lương right over here, and she'll have some program for you. Again, thank you and welcome.
Dear Thai, dear respected brothers and sisters, dear community, great to see you all. Happy Easter. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I'd like to invite you all to sit comfortably. However we are seated, on our cushion or on our chair, you can just take a moment to be aware of our body, of our posture. And we can try to sit upright, but at the same time relaxed. With our shoulders relaxed and our neck as a natural extension of our spine. If we like, we can close our eyes. There's not much to see anyway. And we can be aware of the rising and falling of our abdomen. And now we will listen to 3 sounds of the bell. And these sounds of the bell are an invitation for us to be fully present for our in and out breath, to be fully present for our body. And then I'd just like to invite you for about 5 minutes to just enjoy together sitting in silence, enjoying arriving in the present moment, being at home in the here and in the now, enjoying having nothing to do, nowhere to go, just to sit and to breathe. That's enough. We allow our bodies and mind just to rest. So dear Thai, dear brothers and sisters in the community, dear friends, today is Easter Sunday, and there's been a decoration of some Easter eggs, and behind me there's beautiful sunflowers. So with Easter, we often say Happy Easter, and if it's happy or not, it depends not so much on a wish. I may wish you a happy Easter, and I do. From my heart, I wish myself a happy Easter, and I wish you all a happy Easter. But the most important thing is that we have a practice to generate happiness. And when we come here to the monastery, today we say a Sunday is a day of mindfulness, but a day of mindfulness is also a day of happiness, and a day of mindfulness is also a day of peace, of being light in body and spirit. And so for today, it's not just a wish to have a happy Easter, but it's a practice of making this moment into the most wonderful moment, in a precious moment. So we can always ask ourselves, is there peace, is there happiness in my in-breath? I breathe in, do I feel peaceful and light? I breathe out, am I happy? And in my sitting, I sit, do I feel peace in my body? Do I feel peace in my mind? And when we walk, do we feel happy when we walk? When we eat, do we enjoy the food that we are eating? And so these can be questions for us to reflect, but also to be aware. That is our practice bringing us happiness, lightness. Does it help us to be in touch with the wonders of life? And so our practice of mindfulness is our capacity to generate happiness, to nourish happiness, and also to take better care of our suffering. On the other side of the road, the sisters are building a new nunnery. I have not visited yet, but I was thinking today, like when we build something, it's important that we have a solid foundation. That's where we start. We have a solid foundation, and then we can build something. And what we build can actually be can have a lot of stability because the foundation is already right. And so today is Easter, so just tell you what I remember that Jesus taught one time is he compared like building a house on a rock compared to building a house on sand. And so he said, like when there's a storm and there's a lot of rain, then you're very wise if you build your house on a solid foundation and not on the sand. So there's a lot of problems when you build directly on the sand. And so for us also, we can see if there's a foundation for us, a practice that helps us to touch happiness and to take care of our suffering. And I think one very important aspect, of course, if you pick one out, it's always a little bit of a danger that it's kind of like separate. You have the idea that it's separate from all other things. But I think one very important thing is right understanding or right view. Because whatever our view is, our actions will be based on it. And so if our view is a view of discrimination, a view of that things are separate from one another, then our actions will be based on that. Our thinking will be based on that. Our words will be based on that. And also our actions will be based on that. But also, right understanding is not separate. It's not something that we read in books, but it's an understanding that is alive. I mean, like it's an understanding that is expressed in our way of living. And it is nourished by mindfulness, and it is nourished by concentration. So those are not separate things. We call them the 3 trainings. So they help us to have a solid foundation. Mindfulness, concentration, and insight. A solid foundation to nourish our happiness, and a solid foundation to take care of our suffering. Also in science, we see that it's important to have a good foundation. Otherwise, we see that all the theories that are built on that foundations, they just don't have a solid ground. So in the past, people thought that the Earth was the center, and then the planets and the sun they go around. It's also in our way of language that we say, like there's a sunrise and there's a sunset. It looks very much like the way we use the words, very much a way of describing that the sun goes around the earth. The sun comes up and the sun goes down. Otherwise it's very complicated. You have to say like, the earth is turning towards, is rotating towards the sun for sunrise, and then you say like at the end of the day, like, oh, you want to enjoy seeing the earth rotating away from the sun? It's not so poetic and it's not so romantic as just saying like we enjoy the sunrise and we enjoy the sunset. Yeah, like at a certain point, like there were people who saw like, well, actually this foundation of assuming that the earth is the center, it creates actually a lot of problems. There's a lot of things we cannot explain. It doesn't match our observations. And so, for example, if we take the sun to be the center and the planets, like the earth, rotating around the sun, things started to make a lot more sense. And also for us, for our practice, we can also always ask ourselves the question, do I understand enough about the roots of my happiness, what makes me really happy, and also about the real roots of my suffering? And we can always go deeper. Our understanding will never be 100% perfect, but we can do our best with mindfulness and concentration. We cultivate insight, And this insight can help us to be free, to be a freer person. In Buddhism, freedom or salvation, it comes from our own insight. So sometimes it looks very much like we have ceremonies, and we invoke the names of bodhisattvas or of Buddhas. It may look like we take refuge in something outside of ourselves, as if the Buddhas and the bodhisattvas, they're up in the sky, and we ask them to help us and to transform the suffering for us and to give us happiness, kind of by grace. But in Buddhism, the important thing is to see that we are actually very strong, because we all have these energies of mindfulness, concentration, and insight. We can do it ourselves. We can nourish our own happiness, and we can take care of our own suffering. And so also when we invoke the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it's also for us a practice to see that they are not really outside of us, but they are inside of us. And I know from my own practice of mindfulness that sometimes it needs a little bit of new life, like beginning anew. Sometimes we sit, and we sit perfectly. We sit like the statue on top of the altar, very straight, very solid. We don't move. We're like a rock. But it doesn't mean that there's peace and that there's happiness inside of us. So the form may be quite perfect, but maybe we forget why we are sitting. What are we trying to do? And so we can always remind ourselves that actually the main thing is that we nourish ourselves. We enjoy sitting. We enjoy allowing our body to rest. And we enjoy just breathing, doing nothing. Be a free person. Be a person without projects. Being free from projects. It doesn't mean that you're not active, but you're very free in everything that you do. You're very free. And so what I also try to do is I try to make my practice interesting, of always wanting to discover new things. And this morning, as I was eating my breakfast, it's also a way, like I was eating apple, and of course I've eaten many apples in my life. And so it may be deep inside of me. I may have the idea or maybe the conviction that I know what an apple is, and I know how it tastes. And so there's not so much curiosity. Not so much curiosity in the apple, because it looks so normal. It's just, I'm eating it all the time. So also this morning I was always also practicing to look at it with new eyes. Because one thing is for sure, that apple of this morning I've never eaten before. So that was a new apple. And also for myself, I am not so much of an entity And so that's what the Buddha also taught us, like we're like a non-self, like things are always changing. But it's so, I see it's so tempting, it's so deep down inside of us to believe in us as an entity. I remember one time in our family, my younger sister, well, we were talking about something, and it was about my parents meeting each other. And my younger sister, she said something like, oh, you know, like, because if you wouldn't have met each other, then we would not be there. I mean, like the children, my sister, myself, my other siblings. And I see it's very tempting to think in that way. Suppose your parents would not have met, then you would not be there. And I see it's very much the idea of that, you know, to see ourselves as an entity, not so much as a process or as part of a flow of life, and to see that we are not only in this body, but we are also our environment. If I would not be in this Sangha, I would not be the same person. So I am the way I am because you are the way you are. And this is because that is. And this is not because that is not. And this is a practice of interbeing, and to look with the eyes of interbeing, to break through these boundaries that we create in our daily life, the boundaries of discrimination. I am myself, you are yourself, your suffering is your problem, and my happiness is my happiness, and that it is separate from one another. And I think this is overall a story that is very present in our life. Everywhere where we go, when we turn on the television, when we watch the news, it's always the story based on assumptions that, in my opinion, is like building on sand, like not having a strong foundation, like a story of separation, and of the idea that there is a self as an entity that is separate from all other beings, other human beings, and also the earth, the environment. And so also this morning, I was looking at the apple, and I was also seeing the apple in a new way, and seeing that this is a new apple, and this is a new me, and that the apple has a story to tell. So I can see if I look deeply, I can see the apple, and I see all the elements that are present in the apple. So I see the clouds, and I see the sunshine, and I see the earth. I see all the elements that have come together in the apple. And all those elements, like the sunshine and the rain, the minerals from the earth, they all come together to make it possible. And I also see, like when I'm chewing the apple, I also see that the apple becomes a part of me. And we have a future together. And so I see there's a very intimate relationship, and like this, I can make the apple to my object of meditation, of my object of mindfulness. I'm mindful of the apple, and I can see much more. I can see a superficial apple, or I can see an apple that has a story to tell. And that's of course not only true with our food, but also with the people we live with, our partner, our father, our mother, but also ourselves, to see that there's a story. And we never know everything. Like there's always new things to discover. Sometimes I think of it as we have different channels, like on the television. We can watch different things. And but if we look with those eyes of interbeing, it's like we have our own discovery channel. And we can always learn new things about ourselves and about others, about phenomena. We look with new eyes. So it's also about asking the right questions, and asking the right questions to keep our practice alive and to keep feeding our insight with interesting questions, like a scientist asking the right questions that nourish our happiness and can help us to suffer less. And so when I ask myself the question, like, what is my happiness made of? And I can see, like, happiness is made of non-happiness elements, just like the apple is made of non-apple elements, like the sun, the rain, the earth. And I see my happiness is made also of peace. When I'm peaceful, it's for me quite easy to feel happy. Freedom, to be free from, for example, from compulsive thinking or negative thinking. To have freedom. To also have freedom from my projects. To have freedom from many kinds of desires. Stability, like if we have in our life, we are practicing to have stability in our life. It means like we're not going up and down too much because we have a stable foundation. Then that helps us to be a happiness that is also more stable. If we have gratitude for our life, it's easy to be happy. And this is something I always come back to. That I see that mindfulness helps me to not take things for granted. It is easy to see, every time, or at least I try as much as possible, every time I open the water tap, I try to cultivate gratitude and to see that it's a wonder that water comes from the water tap. And sometimes I imagine myself, as I open it, I imagine myself the happiness of the first people, maybe 100, 200 years ago, I don't know exactly, when they had a water tap at home and they opened it. They must have been so happy and so grateful. But how long? Because I see like we get used to every kind of happiness very quickly. And so mindfulness can help us actually to see, that is not quite normal, or it's not to be taken for granted. Like it's actually quite miraculous that we open the water tap and there's fresh water coming out of it. So we can be happy and we can be grateful as we open the tap. So we see happiness is a practice, and happiness can be become a habit of taking good care of happiness. And also an important aspect is love. To love and to be able to receive love and to have love also for ourselves. I think love is not only far away, but it can start with the love for our own body. And also today is a national holiday. But sometimes on national holidays, I don't know how it is for you, but I know for many people, we also have the tendency to make ourselves quite busy. I mean, it could be a rest day, but it's an optional, like busyness can also be optional. Sometimes we make ourselves quite busy because we want to organize, we want to have things special, but in the process, actually, we make ourselves quite busy. And so it's also an art to allow our bodies and minds to rest. Because sometimes it has just become a habit of always looking for something to do. It's not only because we have a lot of things to do, but it's also because it's our habit of not being able to stop and to always look for things to do. Like I think also for many of us it's the case, like we have a mobile phone, and it's not always that we really need to look at our phone, right? It's not, but it just has become a habit of not knowing what to do, and instead of just allowing our bodies and minds to rest and just enjoy doing nothing, that we look for something to do. Is there something, a new message, new email? Is there something interesting? Not interesting in our body or maybe the things that are directly around us, but is there something interesting on the news, or is there something interesting on the phone? And so also love is not just a theory, it's also a practice of like seeing what do I need, because love goes together with understanding. And so self-love is also to prioritize our own happiness and to prioritize taking care of our suffering instead of running away from it. And I think we all have that tendency. Suffering is by definition not very pleasant. So of course it's nice to look for something else to do, to cover it up, to look for something interesting to do, or to look for something interesting to watch, or just anything, but not to have to feel this kind of like unpleasant sensation inside of us. And so it takes a bit of courage. Courage is not only like being the hero, the superhero in a movie and fighting the enemy. But courage is also the courage not to run away from our own suffering. And sometimes I have the impression that the heroes in the movies, they do exactly that. So if they're really a hero or not, it depends on how you look at it. And so I think one important aspect of self-love is learning how to stop running, and to recognize that everything we are looking for, peace, happiness, freedom, can only be found in one moment, and that is in the present moment. And so when we sing happiness is here and now, it's not just because we want to sing it, it's not a declaration, but it's a practice of recognizing the many conditions of happiness that are right here and right now. And we don't need to look very far. Just like suffering is not only very far away, it's directly inside of us. We can touch it. And the same is true for our happiness. So if we become mindful of our breathing, then that is mindfulness of breathing, and it can nourish our insight. And that insight can be that we are alive. And we can be happy as we breathe in and out. I know breathing, it sounds a little bit boring. We always hear about breathing in, breathing out. Maybe it sounds a little bit boring. But there's a reason why we always talk about breathing in, breathing out. Because most of the time our breathing is not mindful. We are not aware of our breathing, which is also good because that way we keep breathing. But on the other hand, our quality of breathing may not be very deep. A quality of breathing that brings peace into our body and mind, and that brings lightness in our body and mind. And the same is true of sitting. Right now, we have nothing to do, so we can rest. We don't need to try. Also, we don't need to try to write down anything or to remember anything. We just sit, and we can allow our bodies and mind to rest. And so we can be in touch with the wonder of resting. And that is a practice. I remember in the past, my sisters, they would love to sunbathe. So they would lie down in a chair and just enjoying being outside in a lazy chair. And then I thought, like, wow, that seems very relaxing. Let me do it. And after a few minutes, I was so bored, and I was like, So I did not have their calm and their lightness as they were just lying and sunbathing. I always thought I needed to do something else. So I thought there was a lot of restlessness in me. And there was a suffering. I did not recognize it as a suffering, but looking back, I see that it was really a suffering. Like restlessness is not very pleasant. So I was sitting in the church, and I was turning around, like not sitting very peacefully, quietly, and my mother saying, like, sit still. Look at the other children, they can sit still. Why can you not sit still? And so when I was in the church, I wanted to go out. And when I was eating, I wanted to finish as soon as possible. And when I was at school, I was looking at the watch. How much longer? And because I thought that I would be happier when the church was, when it was time to go, or like after school, that I would be happier, a happier person. But I did not do anything about the root, and the root was restlessness. So it's totally not in the spirit of our practice of I have arrived, I am home, and making this moment into a wonderful moment. And wherever we are, that is the Pure Land. That can be the Pure Land, not something outside of us. And so how deep my happiness was when I discovered this path. And for the first time in my life, as far as I can remember it, I felt a deep peace inside of me. And having had always a life of running, because the root restlessness has never been transformed, I found a way of sitting and breathing that generated peace, and that was a medicine for my restlessness. So I was very, very grateful, and so I see it was exactly the medicine, unconsciously, that I had been looking for. And I think we all need some kind of medicine. Like nobody is 100% healthy in body and mind. We all need some medicine, and this medicine may be peace. It may also be understanding. It may be love. And also in our steps, when we are mindful of walking on the earth, we see that it can be a miracle to walk on this planet Earth. I remember when I was in Plum Village, it's our root temple in the south of France, where I ordained a little over 20 years ago. Then Thai, our teacher, he talked about nourishing gratitude, and to see that there's so many things we can be grateful for. And I was talking to my brother, and then he said, like, oh yeah, like he could totally understand that. He said, like, suppose you would walk down the hill where I was living, and you would fall and you would break a leg, and then the other brothers would have to drive you in the wheelchair to all the activities. And when I thought of that, I thought like, whoa, I'm so happy that I did not break my legs. And I remember, like after that conversation, walking down the hill, so mindful, because I was aware, like if I would break my leg, I would really not be happy. And so I was so grateful for my legs. But it's easy to forget. And so sometimes we only notice that we have the conditions of happiness when something is not working. Like we have broken a leg, and we notice how wonderful it is to have 2 healthy feet, to walk on this planet Earth. Or if we have problems with our eyes, like how wonderful it is. We have only one wish, and that is to see as we've always seen, and to be in touch with the colors, and to see the many beautiful forms. But we do not need to wait for losing something if we are mindful, we can recognize that actually it's a great source of happiness to have healthy feet, to have healthy lungs, to breathe, to have eyes that can see, to have ears that can hear, that can listen. And also, as we sit right now, we can be aware of our body, and to see that it's a wonder to be able to sit and to not just as an individual, but to sit here collectively and to feel nourished by the collective energy of peace and lightness. So there's many things that we can do. These are just a few suggestions, but it's up to you. Like if it's Happy Easter or not, it mostly depends on ourselves, not on other people, not on me. And let us listen to one sound of the bell. Just for a moment, just fully come back to our breathing. And we try to do it 100%, to be aware of our belly rising and falling. And let go of all thinking. But just to be 100% there for our in and out breath. Last night, it was very nice actually. I'm very happy to be here in Blue Cliff. And I have two siblings, or monastic siblings, that ordained with me together. And that is Brother Emptiness and Sister Batnium. And yesterday evening, we had a chance to drink tea together. And I was fully aware that drinking tea, oolong tea in the evening, is a little bit risky for me, because I do not always have good experiences. Sometimes I sleep well, but it also regularly happens that I cannot sleep. And so that was the case. I could not sleep. And so it's just lying in bed and just accepting not being able to sleep, and also just trying to enjoy the time in bed and not sleeping. And I thought, okay, I just let the Buddha sleep, because we have our teacher proposed when we walk, we can just invite the Buddha to walk for us. He's a professional. And in the light of interbeing, we are not separate from one another. And we can see the Buddha is in us. So we do not interfere, we just let the Buddha walk. So I thought, like, okay, I'll just let the Buddha sleep. So I don't know if the Buddha slept, but I did not sleep still. So, but I anyway, it was also my practice of just enjoying and lying down and having the time. And it reminded me of a sutra in which the Buddha had slept under a tree, and a man came by and he asked the Buddha, "Did you sleep well?" It's the question we often ask somebody in the early morning. And the Buddha said, like, "Yeah, I slept very well." And then the man said, "But how can you sleep well? Because it was a very cold night. You hardly have anything to wear, so it must have been very cold for you. The ground is very hard and very uncomfortable. So how can you sleep well?" And then the Buddha said, "But believe me, I slept very well." And now may I ask you, suppose, over there's a hut, and there's a man in the hut, and it's warm in the hut, and he has an oil lamp with a very pleasant smell, and he has a wife who takes care of everything, and he has a soft bed, and he has blanket, and he has everything he needs. Do you think that man will sleep well? And then the answer was, yeah, probably that man sleeps very well. He has very good conditions. And then the Buddha asked, but can you imagine that if the man has a lot of worries and anxiety, that the man cannot sleep very well? And then actually the man could very well imagine that. Then the Buddha said, but I have no worries and no anxiety, so I can sleep very well, even though the conditions are quite uncomfortable. And so I see it's also, we often think that, that when we have the perfect conditions, when things are comfortable, that our life will be easier, that we will sleep well, and we will be happier. But actually, if we look at the situation of the world, we see that for most people the comfort level has gone up a lot. But there's a price to pay for the comfort. And for many people, the price is not less worry, not less anxiety, but actually to have more of it. And this has very much to do with our view. So as I started, to have a solid foundation for our happiness is to have right view. And for example, this view of always looking for more comfort to make us happy, I think there's a problem with that. And also if we look at the world and we have the view that we are separate from one another, and we don't see that the happiness of ourselves and the happiness of others, they're linked. And we see that if our environment is happy, then it is easier for us to be happy. And this isn't in a small scale. Of course, our family, if our partner is unhappy, then that is also our unhappiness. But then also on larger scale, as a nation, we see that the way we view, if we view ourselves as separate, then our actions will be based on that. And we may think that we will be safer if we feel more safe if we have more money, we have more possessions, we have weapons to defend ourselves. We can always nourish ourselves with a view that is free from discrimination, and to see that on this planet Earth, that all divisions are just a product of the mind. All divisions between people, between gender, between nations, and we can see that a lot of actions are based on the wrong view of separation and of discrimination. So we can also always be diligent to look a little bit deeper and to see our interconnectedness and to see that what happens to one part of our planet is also happening to us. We are on the same planet. We are on one planet. And so that is only something that we can keep alive, to look at with the eyes of interbeing, when we keep our mindfulness and concentration and insight alive. And I think it's we have so many resources, and it's a pity to use so many of our resources for weapons and for war, instead of using resources to build connections and to build bridges and to take care of one another and to contribute to more peace. And also, of course, on an individual level, I think it's important for our happiness to prioritize our happiness, not so much our success or our wealth, but our well-being and our happiness, our peace. And everything needs nourishment, and with this nourishment we can build a more solid foundation on an individual level, but also as a family, to put the right priorities based on right view, a view that is free from all discrimination, and a view that is nourished by our insight that we are all connected and based on interconnectedness. And today I would like to end with reading a poem of our teacher in this book, Call Me By My True Names, and that is about interbeing. The sun has entered me. The sun has entered me together with the cloud and the river. I myself have entered the river, and I have entered the sun. With the cloud and the river, there has not been a moment when we do not interpenetrate. But before the sun entered me, the sun was in me. Also, the cloud and the river. Before I entered the river, I was already in it. There has not been a moment when we have not interbeen. Therefore, you know that as long as you continue to breathe, I continue to be in you. I'll repeat the last 3 sentences. Therefore, you know that as long as you continue to breathe, I continue to be in you. We can gently massage our feet, our legs, and the next sound of the bell we will stand up together.